Hi everybody, welcome to Friday Night Live, and today we're answering the question, how do I learn to love myself? That's a really good question. I think that you don't have to learn to love yourself. I think loving yourself is a natural implication. It's just something that just sort of floats up when we stop attaching our well-being onto outside things, onto someone else's actions, onto what's going on in the world, onto outside circumstances. We sort of fall back into that heart space, that connection. And within that, there's love.
Yeah, it's a bit like we can be so invested in our personalities and our sense of self. But the sense of self doesn't hold love. It can think love and think loving thoughts, but it isn't who we are. We're not what we think. We're consciousness, we're thought passing through. We are conscious, and this is love. So it's a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah.
When we don't love ourselves, it's because we haven't understood who we are and what we are. We've picked the wrong person in the lineup, which is the personality, the sense of self. But the sense of self is like a glass, and it's got a lid on it, and you can't pour love into it. It kind of like overflow. It kind of breaks off the top. But you take away the persona, the ego, the personality, and you've got the heart, and it's full of love. So that can sound a bit nebulous. So I wanted to talk a bit more about what I mean by that. Is not long ago, or quite a while ago now, I got depressed because I had a very successful business. I had a new car. I had a lots of appreciation and talking all over the world. And it all kind of came, an event happened, it all came crashing down. Then I found myself getting depressed. And what is depression? There's a pressing down of love and an increase in self-thinking, thinking of yourself. And again, I don't mean this in a judgmental way. That's just a definition that I came up with from my own experience. And knowing what I know, I sat with that horrible feeling, that suffering, that I don't like myself, I'm useless, I'm no good for anything, people don't like me, I'm unsuccessful. You've all heard it before. I just kind of sat with it, and it really wasn't very pleasant at all. And in the act of embracing it just as it was, I think about 3 weeks into feeling horrible, it started to lift, and when it lifted, a new thought arose, and that was, Rudi, you are love and you are worthy of love. It doesn't matter what you've done or what you will do or who you are or what you have. Love is non-dependent on anything in the external world. And you know what? I was grasping at these things in the world that I had, and it's illogical. It's innocently illogical, because when the outside world needs to back up your sense of identity or self, those things can leave you. We live in an impermanent reality. Physical reality is impermanent. But what is permanent is the formless, the non-physical reality within. That's who we truly are. And it doesn't need anything, and it doesn't need to be anything or do anything. It just is. And this isness is love. This isness is who we are. It's non-dependent, it's completely free, and it's unconditional. And after that insight, I realized I'm whole, I'm complete. And I am love. And I'm worthy.
Right. And feeling worthy is... I was diagnosed with depression years ago. And I remember I couldn't even think about feeling worthy. Just that thought made my tummy upset, made me, there's no way I'm worthy. Then I began to realize that there was a possibility of someday I could feel worthy.
Mm.
So it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it does, like with you, where you had your insight. But
Well, it took 3 horrible weeks.
Yeah, mine was a few years. But the potential was there. I began to realize the potential was there. And just with that, another bubble of wisdom popped up. And then I noticed I started to feel better. And what was happening was I stopped believing my thinking. I stopped believing my thinking that I wasn't worthy.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped identifying with it.
Yeah.
And when I just would let those thoughts of unworthiness, of low self-worth, of insignificance just pass on by, I started to fall back into my true self, into that heart space. And it wasn't that I learned to love myself. It was just a natural implication of not buying into that chaotic thought pattern that we are so well aware of that happens to all of us. And there's times that I do feel a little bit low self-worth.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying that I'm living the high life, but yet I know that it's just my thinking. I know that I'm just buying into my thinking. And it just, with that comes so much freedom.
Yeah, love is realizing what you are, meaning that this boundless, unconditional, edgeless spiritual presence within, and away from who you are. I'm Rudi, I do this, my job is that, my partner's this. Form based.
Does that make sense? I'll say that again, because that's really significant. Like who we think we are is exterior, as opposed to what we are is love.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
We buy into the who we are. I'm this person, I live here, I have this belief. That starts to dissolve. It dissolves back into what we are, and what we are is unconditional and boundless and edgeless and doesn't need anything to be anything other than love, what we already are. So self-love is really seeing what we are away from the self to this power within. And again, we're living in a human body. It has emotions and needs, and sometimes we all ebb and flow. So sometimes I wake up and I don't feel like I've got much love for myself or anything. And those days it's like there's a hurricane coming to Hawaii and you barrel down the hatches and you make things don't fly away and you just kind of like be safe until it's past. Those days you just limit your liability on people. You try not to have difficult conversations. You try not to take your thinking so seriously. Sometimes I just distract myself when I'm feeling bad with just movies because I'm not thinking of myself then. And then it passes and the clouds come out and then you're back in life again. Like we ebb and we flow. We're not always going to feel self-love and self-worthy. It's going to ebb and flow a bit and it's completely fine. Just because you have mind chatter doesn't make it true. It just means that you're truly human, and we all have that. So you can't really learn to love yourself, but you can realize what you are. And you can naturally unattach to having to have or do or be things in the world to get your well-being. For instance, when I was younger, I used to tell people, oh yes, I'm an international model, or oh yes, I've been traveling to Nepal, because I wanted people to think something of me. So I wanted their appreciation. He's a cool guy, he's traveled. So it's all an external sign of needing something in the world for you to feel okay. But it's an innocent misunderstanding, because you can't get the feeling out there. It originates within. You're feeling like you're feeling because you're thinking like you're thinking in the moment. Like we feel what we think, and if we're having unpleasant self-judgmental thoughts within us, it doesn't matter how much appreciation we've got, how much money we've got in the bank, or what we drive, or how amazing our kids are. It's when that appreciation passes, we're going to come back to that hole in our hearts. The only way to get rid of the hole in the heart is to become wholehearted. Whole meaning love.
Mm. That's beautiful. I like that.
Thank you, honey.
So I hope this makes sense. I realized that navigating through life with less thinking and more feeling, I was living life with more ease. I was understanding that I'm going to have the ebbs and the flows, the highs and the lows. But I find myself staying true to that love within. So we can't learn to love ourselves. Again, it's just a natural implication of our balance, of our alignment.
So there's a realigning of getting it from out there back within. And within has everything we need. It knows what's good for us, what is right for us. It knows our inner passion, our inner joy. It aligns us, it clothes us, it feeds us, it guides us. There is an inner wisdom, intelligence, power, if you will, that has our back because it's who we truly are. And it loves us unconditionally.
That's right.
Because we are unconditional love manifest in the human body. So don't think who you are. What do I like? What are my beliefs? What do people think of me?
Remember what you are. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much for the questions. And again, if your question hasn't been answered, we're going through the list as in order as they were received. So thank you again, and join us next Friday for Friday Night Live.
And lots of love to you.
Yeah.
Bye for now.